welcome to the Revue. I'm Kevin. That's Steve. This is John. John Carroll. Welcome to the Revue here at Zayfods.
Thanks for having me.
We're across the street from one of your regular haunts. I know at Chateau Lafayette across the road there.
Yeah.
I'm curious a little bit about, because we're a similar vintage. I think we're around the same age. All of us here in the
probably
room.
Safe to say that. Yeah.
But when did you start kind of getting into music in general? When were you first writing songs and getting into all that stuff?
Okay, well, writing songs probably in my early to mid 20s, but I'd been playing music for quite a while before that. I'd studied jazz in college and played professionally and everything, and then what actually sort of precipitated writing was that I'd switched from playing the bass and into playing guitar, and I started traveling a little more, and the portability of the guitar was obviously a factor, right? So I started playing acoustic guitar, and I started writing songs and trying to write folk and blues type songs, because that appealed to me at the time, and so around my early 20s, I'd say.
What was the original interest in jazz? What kind of got you through that?
I started playing, rock when I was maybe 15, 16, and playing sort of typical, hard rock type stuff, and then I guess the complexity and everything of jazz kind of appealed to my sort of adolescent, thing, and I like jazz music, but I mean, I want, and I felt like if I learned that I could apply it to any kind of music, So I started studying privately, and then I auditioned for school and got into school and started playing there. But then I just kind of, I guess I felt like, the switching over thing was more revisiting what I'd initially gotten into in music, which was like the Beatles and more when I was 12 or 13 or whatever. I really into that kind of folk and song oriented music, So I switched. I think I just explored something, and I guess I kind of realized there's so many great jazz players, and I just didn't have the desire to pursue that,
that's a whole other kind of discipline.
It's a whole other universe for sure. I mean, I got semi-proficient at it and enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I was really drawn to,
Well, what was calling you with more of the folk, or I guess roots, to use a more generic term? What was pulling you that direction?
I think a lot of that had to do with just the narrative aspects of it and stuff, and writing, that you could write words and tell stories and sort of convey things with that method was appealing, and also maybe the simplicity of it, I think just it's more like I realized at some point that with blues that it's such a simple and repetitive form, but the interesting part of it really lies in the subtlety of it, and how you work within those confines. So I guess I felt like that was appealing, and seeing live music and how it worked and how it affected the audience and how it affected me as the audience. It kind of made it appealing to figure out simple little ways and things to create an experience for people, and myself.
Right. I did listen to a clip you did with CBC Radio recently.
Okay.
So they were talking about a track you wrote when you were 11 or 12.
Sure. Yeah, that's true too. So it
goes back even further.
I think
obviously that was probably a different kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that was basically wanting to be the Beatles, right? But obviously with sort of a really limited parameter of experience to draw from for inspiration, but yeah, no, that was basically I kind of really idolized the Beatles at that stage, even earlier than that, actually what got me into that was a Chipmunks record of the Beatles when I was maybe 7 or 8, and then I was like, oh, there's actually a real sort of band behind this, and then I got into that and really dug into that. So yeah, I mean, the idea of of being a songwriter was, and being a Beatle-esque songwriter was really appealing to my 11-year-old, mentality or whatever.
And I'm sure you're not exactly alone in that department.
Hey, yeah, I mean, very, very massive effect on everybody, I think,
But what other kind of stuff was influencing you in terms of well, even in jazz, but also just in rock and more roots type music? Were there other kind of key artists that you were looking at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for that phase of music for me, like, a lot of it was stuff that's quite mainstream and popular, like Neil Young and Bob Dylan, of course, and then sort of offshoots of that. Like, I mean, I liked a lot of typical 60s rock, like the Animals or things like that, that were really powerful to listen to, and then I guess more into, there was a phase of like hard rock, like well, not really hard rock, but commercial hard rock, kind of when I started first jamming, where we would play things like Led Zeppelin and Rush and things like that that were really, and Black Sabbath, or whatever, that was really really sort of had a profound effect on the adolescent psyche, as it were.
And did you grew up in Kemptville area?
I grew up in Ottawa.
Oh,
I grew up in Nepean, actually, so I grew up in the area. I mean, I definitely consider myself an Ottawa native. I mean, I lived here from the time I was 3.5 till I moved away in my early 20s to go live out west, but all that. There was a period where I went to Toronto for school, and then I went and did a gig in the Middle East during the first Persian Gulf War, playing on a cruise ship for American soldiers. But other than that, that was an interesting detail of that period. Sure.
That does sound pretty interesting. What was the desire to go and
well, we didn't desire to do that. We were all in school studying music, and they'd put up these posters of like work on a cruise ship, and so we were thinking like St. Thomas or something really tropical and
tropical.
Yeah, and then
anyway.
It was pretty tropical, man. We were there for 5 months in Bahrain, and we were like docked on a commercial cruise ship that was like used as an R&R, a place for soldiers who would come on, and the Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy who would come on for 3 days at a time.
Yeah.
And it rained once for like 10 minutes in 5 months, and it was consistently like in the 100 degrees Fahrenheit range. So it was pretty like beyond tropical, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we to get back to the question of how we did that, was we phoned the agency who was advertising for musicians, and he just happened to be right coinciding with the point at which the Persian Gulf War had sort of erupted, and it was like, we need a band to go and play, and we're all like, like 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, and we're like, yeah, man, we'll do that, and the money was really good, and we had no concept of no ethics about anything really, so except to play a lot. So we, that's what we did, right?
Yeah,
and it was fun.
Wow, that's wild.
Lucrative. We wanted to kill each other by the end of it.
Well, it was a war zone.
It was a war zone. We were just getting in the when in Rome,
Yeah. Well, let's break and have maybe a little song.
Sure.
What would you like to maybe start us off with?
Maybe I'll play the title track from my latest record, Everybody Smokes in Hell. Everybody knows when the righteous die, they go to that palace in the sky. But if you've tried and still can't begin to keep yourself from a life of sin, well, you can rest assured it'll be alright. When you find your soul in eternal night, you're gonna find an old familiar smell. You know that everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell. So everybody smokes in hell. You're gonna find an old familiar smell. You know that everybody smokes in hell. Said there ain't no liquor in the promised land. all those earthly pleasures are forever banned. What good is pie up in the sky if it don't taste nice and the crust is dry? They never tell you in the Sunday schools there's a sweet reward when you break the rules. There's so many things they just don't tell. You know that everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell. There's so many things that they just don't tell. You know that everybody smokes in hell. They say the sinner suffers until he atones. Well, I don't know a closet that ain't full of bones. Even Jesus didn't live all that clean. Go on and ask Mary Magdalene. Well, if you get too pure, you will pay a price. So don't be too quick to condemn your vice. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm sure God meant well, you know. When this life ends, we can shovel coal with all our friends, and our souls might have many a stain. There will be many ways to ease our pain. Yeah, it might not be eternal bliss, but there's a brighter side to all of this. We won't miss the grace from which we fell. You know that everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell. Wanna miss the grace now from which we fell. Everybody smokes in hell. Everybody smokes in hell.